Going live, and we are live. Okay, so welcome to another edition of Pinoy Athletics Track Talk. This is Monday edition. Actually, we're having quite a lot of editions this week, like more than we usually have. So Sunday, I talked about the virtual event and the upcoming virtual event, the 5,000 meters and the 6,301K virtual event, which is ongoing. On Tuesday, we'll be interviewing one of the rising stars of Philippines men's long distance runners, coming from the treasure chest of athletes which are emerging out of Iloilo at the moment, Mr. Alfranse Braza. And also joining us will be his two coaches, Eli Navarro and the Zen master of Iloilo Track and Field, Coach Noel Viel. And tonight, I have with me Mr. Jerix. How do I pronounce your surname?
Jerix Quintino.
Yep. So I have Mr. Jerix Quintino, or Mr. Jerix Quintino, who will be discussing the virtual event, the recently concluded Pinoy Athletics Talking Chinoy 5,000 meter virtual event, which was very well received with a lot of positive feedback coming from all the athletes that joined the event. And to start with, we'll be talking with Coach Happy Denuyo, who is a silver medalist in the SEA Games and Rugby Sevens, a former UAAP sprinter and jumper from UST, and also strength and conditioning coach with the Philippine Sports Commission. Did I get that last part right, Happy?
Actually, I'm a performance specialist in POC. So, although like sometimes we do strength and conditioning also for our athletes, or like the assigned athletes to us. So yeah.
Okay, you may have to speak up a bit because that was a little bit, the sound was a little bit muffled on that one.
Okay. Okay. How about this? Can you hear me now?
That's better.
Is this better? Yep. Okay. Actually, those introductions were right naman, so there's no wrong about it.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So as long as the people listening can hear, that's fine. I'm just finding that the sound's a little bit distorted. Can you hear, Jerix? Can you hear Happy? Okay, from where you are. You can.
Yes, I can hear her clearly, very
clear. Okay, it must be my connection then. Okay, I'm just going to switch off some devices because I've got.
Okay.
I think it's because I've got the fan running up at the top of the. I've got a wall fan running, so that's probably better now. Okay. So I'll just start with tonight's presentation. I think it's this one. The second one. Okay, that's better. Okay, so yeah, so this is a special edition of Pinoy Athletics Track Talk for the 25th of the 1st, 2021. So what we'll be discussing tonight, new moderators for the site. Then actually we'll be discussing this part first, Eric Cray and Christina Knott's performances in the United States, followed by the wrap up of the virtual events, then followed by the ongoing virtual event, which is shorter distances. Okay, so tonight I've already introduced the moderators. Sorry, I've got to open the other window because that one's not as good. Okay, so there we go. Okay, so first new moderator, Happy LD Denuyo, SEA Games silver medalist in the Rugby Sevens, former UAP sprinter, and that last part I probably will need to correct, or is that close enough?
Yeah,
okay.
Close enough.
Yeah, we'll just say it's close enough for now. You know, like I don't know what they probably title it something similar, so we'll leave it there for now. And then our other new moderator is Jurex Quintinho, part of Project Revo, the registrar for the Pinoy Athletics Talking Chinoy 5,000 meter virtual meet, and also the most improved athlete at the meet, lopping off an incredible 1 minute 39 off his 5,000 meter time. So we're very happy to have them on board, and we're actually looking for more moderators. So this is basically the advert. Send your details to pinoyathletics@gmail.com, brief description of how you want to help and how you'd like to be a moderator, what you would like to do as a moderator, plus any useful background information that will help. So to all our viewers out there, maybe this could be you. So here are the details. All right. So Happy, let's discuss this. You know, like basically she's added the 60 meters to the cart of her Lydia De Vega record. She's taken the 100, she's taken the 200. She drew the record in the heats, and then she broke the record in the finals. You know, I actually messaged Coach Rowe to request a copy of a video if he's got one. And yeah, so any comments or any like insights? When were you able to find out about this performance, or how long have you been able to know about the performance, and like what can you say?
Actually, I just learned it like right now. When I scroll down my F, I just saw some of my colleagues posted this tawag nito, the results. So like from my experience, actually the results of KK is not it's not a surprise, to be honest. It's like I've seen her trained, and I know like the knowledge and the methods of and the work ethics of Coach Carlo and Coach Ro. So like for me, this is somehow anticipated. And like prior to SEA Games, I was able to like tawag nito? I was able to uh no, I was able to like I was there during her training, like for quite some time I was there. So and at the same time also asked both Coach Ro and Coach Coach Carlo, like why the purpose of her training. So why this, why that. So like um in short, like uh it's anticipated, and it's really not a surprise for me.
So the big question is really
She
what
will be
comes
able
next.
to like hmm?
Sorry, continue. I was like I sort of saw you pause there, so I kind of jumped in. But yeah, continue.
um and also knowing like the work ethics of KK. Since she's a graduate, she doesn't have any responsibility. I know she doesn't have any responsibility instead of like just train and play. So I can really say that she's she's on her way to for the Olympics qualifier. So I think there's nothing else to say, eh. Because like knowing
Yeah.
Coach Rosan and Coach Carlo, they've been working together. Um, they they're not they're not they're just not they're not into like only her physical training, but also like her her nutrition, like her her rehabilitation. So
So in other words, the
all
whole
in all,
holistic
like
program.
it's a package. Okay, so both, yes, it's holistically. And especially right now that she's in Florida, I think. Oh, she's in Florida and she's with her family. So that's also a big contribution for for on her part. So it's summarize all.
It is quite an opener to come out with your first race of the year in 2021, and the first race of the year you basically smash smash a record which has stood for 33 years as the opener. Like the question is, do you think that she is capable also of qualifying for the Olympics in the 100 as well, or would she stand a better chance in the 200, knowing that she has the speed already to bring down that 23:01? Okay, we
At
have
the
a little
moment,
bit. Yep.
I still don't know. Sorry. Okay. I'm not sure. As of the moment, I really am not sure um what event she's qualified really for. But as what I've known, like as what like Coach Rosan told me, she is really preparing for the two events. So whichever event she's she's qualified first. I think that's one who that's what she'll be really focusing on. Because like 100 and 200 is like almost the same. Eh. They're like the energy system is the same. Their training is almost the same.
Yeah.
It's not the same, pero they're similar. So all in
Yeah.
all, whichever like comes first,
Hmm.
whichever comes first will be like the one she will be focusing on.
There's a big difference. In my view, there's a big difference. The 100 is actually tougher to qualify for because the standard for the 100 is 11.15 and the standard for the 200 is 2280. If we cut
Mm-hmm.
2280 in half, that's 1140 versus 1115, which is, obviously you need to run a lot faster in the 100 to qualify with a Olympic slot because you have to run 1115.
Mm-hmm.
But in the two, or what if there's not enough? I haven't done the review or the evaluation on the women's 100 yet, but I've done the evaluation review on the women's 200. If we look at it, and this is why I put this down the bottom, the other day I was fortunate enough to have an interview with one athlete who I feel also has a genuine chance of qualifying for the Olympic Games, but really hasn't been mentioned by the Philippine media. That athlete is Zion Corrales Nelson, and she's run 23:16 in the 200 meter dash. Now, I've done the surveying of the women's 200. The qualifying standard is 2280. There is 56 slots
Mm-hmm.
in the women's 200, but only 23 athletes have hit the standard. So, and outside the qualifying period, 4 athletes have hit the standard. So that may be, if those 4 outside the qualifying period hit the standard, there'll be 27 qualifiers. Let's say another 6 qualify, that we're not sure about at the moment. That's 33. Now, 33 out of 56 women qualify in the 200 meters by June the 29th. That means there's 23 slots which will go to the next fastest athletes. What that means is that if only 33 women run under 22.80, they still have to fill those 56 slots. So they're going to probably give the that's why I estimated that anything under 23.1 will probably be good enough to get to the Olympic Games for the 200 meters. So, Christina's already done that, but obviously she's going to go faster.
Yeah.
So, but, Zion is pretty close to it as well. That's the thing that we're not really considering is now that, Zion Nelson is with the University of Southern California training with, some of the best, college athletes such as Angeles and others at the University of Southern California with Coach Carol Gilbert, one of the top, women coaches in the United States. So she's got the perfect environment, lots of meets as well to try and hit the Olympic standard. Her schedule shows around 15 to 20 competitions where she's going to be running the 200, so she has the chance as well to hit the 200 standard. My viewpoint is that I believe that, Knott and Zion, they're probably the best two chances, I think, out of all the athletes that are, that are there. The reason why that is because there's lots of, there's not that many athletes that have qualified for those 56 slots at this point in time. So there's going to be lots of bonus slots as well. Of course, it's better to hit the standard and get in. But what I'm saying is that they have a higher chance to qualify because the event doesn't have that many qualifiers at the moment. There'll be a lot of bonus slots. If we compare that to the women's marathon, for example, there's 75 slots with a standard of 2 hours, 29.30, but 81 athletes have already hit the standard. So that means that anyone else who wants to go has to hit the standard because the slots have already been exceeded. That's why it's easier, to qualify in the women's two for these two than it would be for, someone to qualify in the women's marathon because they have to run the actual standard now to qualify, whereas there's still bonus slots in this event. But, pretty much they won't need them. But, it's still like there's not that many qualifiers in that event. That's the bottom line compared to some of the other events.
I wasn't updated for like the numbers of the slots.
Well,
so yeah,
as a
okay,
statistician, I went and I actually looked at all the athletes who have already qualified for the event and made a list, and I tried to figure out, like how Christina and Zion compared. Christina was ranked, around, I think, 31st in the world or something, or 30th in the world in 2019. And that's if we, if we go by the 3 athlete per country rule, she's ranked about 35th or 31st or something in the, in the top 40. Zion was ranked 56th in the world if you go by the 3 per country rule. So, both of them are, in the top 56 in the world, and there's 56 slots for the Olympics. If you go by the 3 per country rule, obviously there's probably about 30 Americans who are ahead of Christina, but like only 3 Americans get to go to the Olympics. So that I did consider that when I went through the rankings. I brushed through the last 3 years of results and came up with the fact that we've got 2 women who could legitimately qualify in the 200 meters.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, that would be great if like we have for the first time women, Filipina women who's qualified for sprinting events. Because it's been like
Well,
decades
it's been a long
since we
time.
have that.
It's been a long time. I wouldn't say it's
Never
the
had a
first time,
chance
but it's been a long time.
Because like um because like for me, sprinting events is speed is really a skill. So if you won't um if you won't improve that skill, or if you won't develop that skill, then you won't be able to really compete in a high level competition. Okay, so and like yeah, I think you have said it now. It's been decades.
When was the last time that we have a representative in the sprints competition, the Olympics?
Well, in 2000, Luma Balawitan ran in the 100-meter dash, but she didn't actually hit the standard. She went there with a wildcard entry. Probably the last woman to actually hit the Olympic standard who went to the Olympics was Lydia De Vega, which would have been maybe, like Luma went in 2000, but her PB was about 11.6 electronic. But she went there with a as a token entry. But in 2000, what was it? In about 1988, I think Lydia De Vega went to the 84 and the 88 Olympics for the 100 and the 200, I think, or 100 and 200 for one, and then 100 for the next one. So probably the last legitimate qualifier we had in the women's sprints was Lydia De Vega. If we go further back, I think Mona Sulaiman and Innocencia Solis and I think Amelita Alanes, they all went to the Olympic Games as well. So we've had there's 1, 2, 3, 4, she would be about the 6th woman to run at the Olympic Games for the Philippines in the women's sprints. Obviously, the first qualifier we've had in a while. Actually, if she comes ahead and hits these times, then she'll be the first qualifier, the actual qualifier we've had since Lydia De Vega to go to the Olympics.
And mind you, sprinting is very difficult. Like for Southeast Asian countries to be qualified for it, unless you have a wild card. So yes, it's really difficult, like to be qualified for sprinting events.
Yeah, because the standards went up. I mean, it's 11.15 to get to the Olympics. In the time of Lydia De Vega, it was about 11.40 to get to the Olympics. Now it's about 11.15. So the standards just go up and up and up as the years go by. I mean, imagine in the men's sprints for the 100 meters, you need to run 10.05 to qualify for the Olympics. And, I remember when I was about 15, the qualifying standard, that would have been around 2000. The qualifying standard to go to the Olympics then was about 10.28, and now it's 10.05. So, 0.23 is a lot. That's like 3 meters or something. And that's like 2 meters in the sprints. So that's, that's a big, and the quicker you get in the sprints, the harder it gets to improve further. So that's why, that may not sound like 0.2 may not sound like much, but it's actually quite a lot at that, when you're at that speed. It's really hard to get that sort of improvement when you're, if you're already running 10.3, it's hard to get to 10.0 or 10.1. And a lot of it does come down to genetics as well. It's like almost like you're kind of born to run 10.0 or 10.1 or you're not. Anyhow, I'll progress to the next slide. So hoping to see, more fantastic performances from KK in for the rest of the meets to come in the year. So the other athlete that ran this weekend was Eric Cray. He ran at the same meet as KK. He was able to, he ran the 400 and the 200 because he's running indoors. His event for the Olympics is the 400 hurdles, but they don't do 400 hurdles at indoor meets. So he sensibly opted to run the 400 and the 200. Usually, Eric Cray comes out at this time of year and runs a 60 meters, but I think he's really focused on that Olympic 400 hurdle. So he's doing events which are closer to his 400 hurdles. He's in the 400. He ran the 400 and the 200 on the same day at this meet. So he had 2 races. He ran 48.13, which is, he got second in both events. Second in the 400 to an athlete from Puerto Rico. Eric's PB indoors is 47.7. In the 200, he ran 21.67 to get second behind an American athlete. He holds the national indoor record at 21.31. So Eric needs to run 48.90 by June 29 to qualify for the Olympic Games. his best time is 48.98, which was set at the World Challenge meet in Madrid 5 years ago. At the last Olympic Games, Eric didn't, just get knocked out of the heats. He actually, I think he got third in his heat, and he made it through to the semi-finals. He finished 18th out of 24 athletes in the 2016 Olympics. And Eric will run again next week indoors at the same venue at Birmingham. Okay, so Happy, your thoughts?
To be honest, have I'm not so sure like how Eric is doing right now. But if like you're saying that he will be competing for next week, so what I can say is that I think he's in competition phase right now, and like I'm not I'm really not that updated. So still hoping that he'll be able to hit like the Olympic qualifying time.
I think my view is, having known, Eric going way back to 2012, when he basically sent me an email telling, saying, I want to run for the Philippines. Do you know anyone? Can you hook me up? Back in 2012. So that's like almost 9 years ago now. Having known him for a while, I can see, he's now 32 years of age. So this is probably undoubtedly the last time he'll have a chance to sort of go for the Olympic Games, because when the next one rolls around, he's going to be 36. Oh, not 30, yeah, 36 when the next Olympics rolls around, 35, 36. So this is basically his his last sort of chance to qualify for the Olympics. He's 32, and as you get older, I think that he's matured as an athlete in this aspect, because I can see from this, he's not in previous competitions, in previous years, Eric would come out and run a 60 meters, and he'd want to go to do well at the 60 meters at all these meets. But I think we're seeing a more mature Eric Cray, who really wants to focus on that 400 hurdle standard this time around, and he's not going to be sort of sidetracked by 60 meters and other events like that. He's actually, seems to be doing what he can, everything he needs to do to try to hit that standard. And my evaluation of the event is, I don't think, I looked at the number of qualifiers in the event. I think that based on my analysis, there won't be like all the slots filled by 48.90 qualifiers. I think you would need at least a 49.2 to qualify for the 400 hurdles. Now, Eric has, ran 50 point last year. Obviously, it wasn't the best build-up for him in that year because he had a lot going on. But it seems like he's a little bit more focused now with the training, to actually try to come back and hit that standard. He has a lot of meets lined up, so I can just say it'll be interesting to see how it pans out.
That would be great. Like, it's true that as you age, um, some things like starts to degenerate and stuff like that. So, and I think it's a best decision for Trey to really focus on 400 meters, 400 meter hurdles right now. Like, I know she's she's also good with the 16-meter sprint, like the shorter distances. But since his forte is really 400 meters, so 400-meter hurdle. So I think
Yep.
we couldn't really agree more than to focus it. And if I'm not mistaken, I think his coach right now is his wife, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Samantha, yeah. Yep.
Oh. So I think there's also a good thing with like your wife as a coach. I'm not so sure.
Maybe you have to ask Eric that. I don't really know. Maybe it
So
works out for him well, like, I don't know, but
okay.
he's worked with a couple of coaches now. Actually, Samantha's father, Keith, used to coach Eric at one point. So, like Samantha's dad was his coach at one point. So, it's yeah, it's sort of like I don't see, yeah, it seems to be working for him.
Well, right now I'm still looking forward for Trey to really hit the standard. I mean, no, I mean, I know na knowing like the pandemic and stuff, he was like his training was like he inhibit for a while, and
Yeah.
I really hope that he will be able to really qualify.
Well, I can tell he's really focusing on the 400 hurdles and not so much on that short sprint stuff because, I've seen several Instagram videos of Eric just smashing out 3 600s and just absolutely being in the hurt locker afterwards on the ground, like unable to move because he's just smashed out 3 600s. I mean, 600s, like I'm not talking about, going out and, like running an easy 600. He just absolutely just sprints them. So, he's basically putting himself through a world of pain to, obviously, like get that, to get that standard. So, I think he's basically just doing absolutely everything he can to ensure that, he ends up, getting the best performance he can.
I couldn't agree more. And one more thing, yeah, I remember. Um, I hope that he won't be able to get any injuries. Like with his current age and like the current as you grow old, as your age increases, sometimes um if you don't listen to your body, sometimes it might turn back on you. So like the training might turn back on you. So there are a lot of factors that he should consider right now as like his current status or age.
Yep. Okay. Thanks for the insight there regarding the aging athlete. Um, Yeah, so as well as Eric, I mean, the other athletes that are campaigning for the Olympics that I'm kind of looking forward to seeing is also Big Willie Morrison in the men's shot put because I did my evaluation on him. He's thrown 20.21 meters earlier in the year, but the season got stopped because of COVID. He threw 2040 I think it was last year. The standard for the Olympics in the men's shot put is 21:10, but I looked at the number of qualifiers and looking at that, he has to throw at least a 20:80 to qualify, which is I think it's within his grasp. He's got to have about maybe 40, 50 centimeter improvement in the shot put, but, apparently he's got one of the best coaches in the country. So, I look forward to seeing Willie Morrison coming out and having some big throws at the start of the US domestic season. I don't know when he's going to start competing, but I look forward, to seeing how his Olympic campaign progresses.
Me too. Because like I haven't heard from him like any updates, like any competition results. So yeah, I really do hope, and I'm
He
looking
hasn't
forward.
started competing yet, I think, but hopefully, I might ask around, when he will be starting competing.
Mm,
There's probably, he's the first athlete to win the shot put for the Philippines at the Sea Games in the history of the Sea Games. So very interesting athlete, very good find for Philippine athletics, and it'll be interesting to see, how he goes. Try and go after those standards. Okay. Was there anything else to add, Happy?
um, nothing. Uh, just one thing. Like I hope this at the current athletes that we have right now. I hope this will serve as like an inspiration for our local athletes to also really improve. Like even though even though they don't have like um, I hope like they will fight the stigma na they will fight the stigma na only the fit foreigner athletes are able to really compete abroad or like qualify for Olympic qualifier. So I hope
And
it serves
EJ,
as an
full
inspiration.
foreign athletes and EJ will be in it.
Like I really do hope that they would still have that burning passion to really would still improve and to really then they will aim high so that
Yeah.
yeah, so that we also have local athletes here. That's all that I can
Okay.
say.
Speaking about no competitions and the like only the athletes who go overseas, who are based overseas, get to compete in actual competitions. I'll now bridge our session into the success of some virtual meets that have taken place in the country in the last month. So this virtual meet we're going to discuss is the second virtual meet which Pinoy Athletics has done, and we did it in partnership with Talking Chinoy. Firstly, we did the virtual women's 60-meter dash, which Happy was a part of, and that was a thrilling event because we ended up with two joint winners, both from UST, Leanne Diana Pama and Karen Henario, both tying with a time of 7:75. Obviously, they were quite a long way behind Christina Knott, who just ran 7:32. But like it's a start for the upcoming younger athletes who are coming next in the sport later on. Now, I'm just going to go to the next screen. So we're going to discuss this young man who I believe is one of the upcoming stars in Philippine men's long distance. So we're talking about two athletes based in the US, and now this is a local guy who comes from Iloilo. We'll be talking with Alfrance Braza and his two coaches, Ellie Navarro and the Zen master, Coach Noel Diel of the Western Institute of Technology. Our viewers can tune in on Zoom at 8 p.m. Philippine time as we talk with Alfrance Braza and his two coaches. That will be streamed through the Pinoy Athletics Facebook page. So just a background on Alfrance Braza. He's the Palarong Pambansa champion in the 1500 and the 5000 from 2019 with a time of 15:56. He won the BBG Run 10,000 meter virtual event with a time of 32 minutes 01, improving his PB from 33 minutes 29 on the road. That event was organized by our good friend, Coach Roel Ano, who is with the BBG Run Philippine group. That's his own advocacy to help athletes in the province be able to join more competitions and level up the opportunities for athletes in the province to participate at high level meets. During the Pinoy Athletics Talking Chinoy virtual meet, which has just concluded yesterday, Alfrance Braza first ran the 5,000 meters at the track oval in Iloilo Sports Complex. He was timed on the video and made a time of 15:45, lopping 11 seconds off his best time. Then he ran on a closed road circuit because Braza was overtaken by Eduard Flores of the University of the Philippines and from General Santos, who at Coronado Track Oval, which has just recently opened, took the lead from Braza with a time of 15 minutes 30. So on the last day, in the twilight hours of this meet, in the last few hours, Braza decided to risk running again. Now, if he ran slower, he could have lost that 15:45 and lowered his placing in the event. But he rolled the dice, he took the risk, and he came out on the closed road circuit with an outstanding time of 15 minutes 03, which effectively is the second fastest time ran in the last 6 years by a Filipino athlete, behind Sonny Wagdos's 14 minutes 34, which was run at the 2019 SEA Games where he got the bronze medal. So he was awarded the Pinoy Athletics Talking Chinoy 5,000 meter virtual champion. After winning the 10,000, he's also picked up the 5,000, and we're also going to see him again on the 31st in the 1,000 meter event with the Fantasia Pinoy Athletics virtual event, which is our third virtual meet. And we're also going to see him earlier on Tuesday because he's going to be interviewed. So, just your thoughts on this young man from Iloilo, Jerix?
Uh, I have a few times having a messenger with our friends, and he's a very humble man. I think he's a coachable guy and very young, which can still improve a lot better than what he did. And I think he can break the 14:30 mark in the near future.
Definitely, yeah, because he ran 15:03 on a road circuit in rubber shoes. So if he put spikes on and he was in a good race, he could honestly, um, I would really love to see Alfredo Braza take on some of the big names at the national championships in the 5,000 meters because he's 19, turning 20 this year, so he's no longer a junior athlete. He's had a pretty good junior career, winning the Palarong Pambansa. It's always a prestigious, start when you start off as a Palarong Pambansa champion. He went overseas to compete at the ASEAN school games in Indonesia, where he was able to he ended up getting fourth at his first international meets in the 15 and the 5K. But it'll be really interesting, considering Flores also is quite a good find, very good young upcoming talent, quite a tall runner from General Santos, now training with Coach Rio at the University of the Philippines. But Flores and Ruto are also good prospects. They've also shaved considerable amounts of their PBs. But I imagine I could see Braza maybe an interesting matchup going up against Sonny Wagdos or some of the guy from the steeplechase Gabostia, some of the older seasoned athletes. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think he it would be interesting to see him go up against some of the bigger names in the sport. Um, yeah, so and he's also province trained. That's the other thing. He's not. He's from the Prisa, so he's province trained by Coach what's his name, Ellie, and Coach DL. Getting all that fresh air, all the circuits and different terrains to run on. So I mean, it'll be interesting to see how he progresses. He's had knocked quite a considerable chunk off his time, so despite the fact it's COVID, I can see though during COVID the trend is a lot of world records have been broken in the longer events because the athletes are basically not being pushed as hard. They get more time to recover. So I think that that's why we've seen a lot of world records. Probably not as much mileage being done during COVID. So we've seen a lot of world records, in marathons and 10K, 5Ks, and even in Australia, we've seen lots of long-standing national records being broken because the athletes are getting time to actually recover. They're not being sort of flogged as much in the training.
Yes, they're well rested.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that in any track events, anything from sprints to long distance to, throwing or, walkathon or anything, I think that recovery is very important and a lot of the times overlooked. It's something that's, very crucial if the athletes want to, continuously breaking down muscle, they have to rebuild it and it has to be given time to rebuild.
Um, you're right about that theory. Like, since like the how shall I put this? the mindset of like mostly long distance athletes is just run, 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 and run. And they forgot
Yes.
sometimes they forgot that rest is also part of training. And since like due to COVID, like you have mentioned, like due to COVID, they are forced to and they are forced um to really like rest. Okay, like not just active rest, but really rest. So like nothing to do. Like you can't go out there. So um yeah, you have
Our training is as useful.
that's yes, coach. Oo. And also like due to overuse because like long distance usually has a higher chances of overuse injuries because like they're all the impact is always like constant for a very long period of time. So ayun, due to that, they didn't even know na their body is already recovering. So yeah, I think the pandemic sometimes serves as a reflection not just for coaches but also for athletes that sometimes they also have to consider rest as part of recovery. It doesn't mean that you have to really rest for that short time. Um, yun, like you have to really take part of it. Like even sleep is an important is an integral part of recovery. So if you have little amount of rest or little amount of sleeping time, then you train or like you run for that long, your body will really suffer. You might not feel it right now, but sometimes in the future. So ayun. So I really hope that Abrasa will be really able uh to also appreciate things like things like lifestyle like a sleep nutrition especially sleep nutrition so that if he would be like he has the potential so we really hope na he would also realize those type of um privileges it's not a sacrifice those type of options that he has to consider if he really wanted to really be if he wants to be like part of the elite athletes or like a high performing athlete. Sorry, that's
Yes.
just the thought that came up in my mind. Sorry.
Recovery and rest is as important as hard training, I think. And most misconceptions about, especially in running, is you train hard and hard, and there's no time for our muscle to recover.
Yes, coach, you're definitely right. Not just in the Philippines, but also in other countries. That's
Yes,
that's also a pandemic for some of the countries, like the run. Rest is not part of it. So like, yun lang.
Yeah, hydration as well. The big three we got told in our coaching course was sleep, nutrition, and hydration. It's also important that you're refueling your body with enough water. When you're running, there are some athletes in the Philippines where they get told by their coaches not to drink water because it's a sign of weakness or something. But actually, one of the athletes I'm working with, um, she got she was basically complaining about having cramps and stuff. And then like I asked her, how much water are you drinking during your workouts? Oh, I don't drink water during my workouts. I never really have. I said, well, you need to start doing it because that's why you've got cramps.
yeah,
Anyway,
with that.
yep. Sorry, Jerex, go ahead.
Yes, I do agree with that, Coach Ansel.
Um, Enzo, I have a question. Uh, correct me if I'm wrong. Braza is in Iloilo right now, right?
Yes,
And is
his first year
he
college,
in what school? Sorry, in what school?
Western Institute of Technology.
Okay. Is he also like if he also wants to complement his training, he should also like do some strength training. It's like sometimes that's also a misconception for like for other. it's a misconception, or like it's a myth na if you do long distance running, you're not allowed to do strength sessions. When say strength session, that's where you go to gym, do some do some
Now, you need to do
gym
strength
workout.
sessions even if you're a long distance runner because it helps protect against injuries.
Mm-mm-mm.
Because
So
if your muscles are like constantly being flogged, you need to basically strengthen those muscles to guard against injuries.
so
I
he
can ask
also
his
like
coach
Braza
if you
is
want to have a chat with his coach. I can mention it to his coach because his coach will be talking with us tomorrow on Track Talk.
mm-mm. Yes, coach. Uh, I'm not saying na I'm not saying na what I'm trying to say is like to so that it can complement his it can complement his performance. So I'm not saying na you should like focus on doing strength training, but like put put strength sessions or put strength training as part of his like training regime, um so that as you mentioned, it also strengthens or it also complements his like performance as well. So ayun. So like yeah, yun lang naman.
I think that's a really good suggestion. I know that coaches Ellie and Noel are very reasonable people who kind of listen to all options and possibilities when it comes to the development of their athletes, and they'll take that feedback on board very well. Um, I know that obviously they've gotten quite a big improvements. That technically they've done quite a lot, but they probably would be looking at any other means to further improve their athlete. Um, whether if probably they would welcome any input in terms of strength development if if that was to be of benefit. Um, okay, Jerix, I'll just proceed to the next slide. So these are the results of the event. Um, well, these are now official results. It says unofficial there, but I haven't changed that. But these are now the official results of the meet. So we had 37 athletes compete. Braza won the event from Iloilo in 15:03. Edward Flores, who joined Team BBG um, from General Santos, also a student at the University of the Philippines, ran at 15:30. Now that sort of time will probably put him as the favourite, as the top contender now at the UAAP against the likes of James Adunia and his teammate Dave Marcello. That probably puts him in the front seat now to like crown himself the UAAP champ, having a good chance of crowning himself the UAAP champion whenever the UAAP resumes. And also Flores' buddy Mark Ruto, who ran with him at Coronado, came in third place with 15:55. Now on the right hand column, we had 37 athletes participate. We had 13 personal bests and two unofficial personal bests from athletes that sort of got DQ'd for not following all our protocols when it came to the meet. Um, these are basically just the results from the meet. So the reasons athletes were DQ'd is basically negative elevation, not providing a full video. One guy didn't use Strava, um, basically conceding times or running again, having a time and running again, and then basically running a slower time, which got DQ'd for elevation. So there were a lot of ways athletes could be DQ'd, and that's why we asked for videos because like sometimes there was some issues with the Strava, so the athletes we needed a countermeasure to check, especially on track oval races. And the women's, Lani Cadona Dog won in 19 minutes 13, which was PB as far as I can see. I haven't actually been able to find a faster time from Lanny than the 1927. But yeah, and then so Lanny represented Team Titus, coached by Saturnino Salazar, walks coach. Nian Barcena, a former four-time Milo Marathon 21K champion, representing Barcena's running. She got second with 20.14 with an oval run at Malolos Bulacan. And in third place was upcoming Palarong Pambansa 1500 and 3000 meter champion Leslie De Lima with a time of 20.26. Now we had 23 women compete and 14 were given valid results. The rest were either DQs or like no shows, or not really no shows, but decided not to run for that event. So there were 4 PBs, personal bests in the women's events out of 23. I also want to thank Coach Roalano because he actually provided about a third of the athletes in the men, which greatly boosted our numbers, and we'll be supporting his events in the future. He has a Davao International Marathon on the 7th of March. Jirax, any comments about these results or anything in general about the meet?
I think the results are kind of exciting. We have a lot of things that happened during our discussions on how we finalized the result. But then I'm very much happy with the result. Having so many people or athletes breaking their PBs, and I'm also very much happy about my result also.
Yeah, we'll come to that one in a moment. That's very that's very interesting, because I mean you are part of Team Revo working with the Garmin program, which is I'm not sure if Happy knows about the Garmin program, but the Garmin program is a very interesting, very sports sciencey kind of program, because basically they have a watch, and the watch basically measures things like what does it measure, Jirax? Just run us through it, because I'm not entirely sure. I'll probably make I'll probably make a mistake here, but
yes. Stephen introduced the Garmin training plan to us through his initiatives in Project Rebel. And at first, I was very much interested then, because it tells us that training is not only training hard, but you also have to rest and recover. And in the Garmin training plan, we always measure uh, our effort during training. And in the Garmin training plan, you have these phases in the training or workouts. We have hard trainings, the interval sessions. You have progressive runs, and you also have the recovery and long runs. So it's basically doing the training program only in two zones of effort in the heart rate, which is we have the zone 2, the easy, is for the recovery and for the long runs. And we have zone 4, which is the threshold effort, which is about 80 to 90%. So I think that's the main reason why I run efficiently during the 5-kilometer run, because during my workouts, because I am training for a marathon, which I did yesterday. During the training, I do effort in my trainings, 80 to 90% for my interval sessions and threshold runs. So I think during the 5,000-meter virtual run, running at around 95% made made the uh, made the change. So as I increase the pace or effort, uh, my muscle and my cardio was not overwhelmed enough. So that's from 2136 to around 1957.
If we talk about the basics of coaching, especially the long distance, but also it can apply to the middle of the sprints to some extent as well, in particular, say the 400. Um, I think in the Philippines, a lot of coaches sort of rely on, like when an athlete rests, that, okay, 3 minutes rest, 4 minutes rest, 5 minutes rest, whatever, like that. But a lot of coaches never really take into account the heart rate of the athlete. I mean, the heart rate is a good secondary indicator, along with the amount of time that you rest, is how well your athlete
Yes.
adapts and recovers to the session itself. I mean, for some days, you might give your athlete 4 or 5 minutes rest. It might not be enough because their heart rate might not be recovered at that point. They could have a cold, they could have external stresses which are causing them to sort of like take longer to recover. That needs to be taken into consideration as well. I mean, you give
Yes.
an athlete, an athlete might need 3 minutes, they might need 5, they might need 6 minutes, depending on the heart rate, to recover. But, if you're looking at heart rate, you're probably going to get a lot better results because you're more in tune with what's actually happening to the athlete's body.
Yes. It depends on the level of fitness.
But the Garmin watch, it doesn't just say heart rate, right? It also indicates, it does other things as well besides the heart rate.
It also indicates the pace, the distance, but if you have other accessories like a foot pad or a chest strap, which can be much accurate than the uh, wrist type of the heart rate monitor, other dynamics or analytics of the workout can be easily digested or analyzed. One thing I think that's very good about the Garmin training plan is you have to download the training program, and
Yep.
basically it when you sync that in your watch, it's already there.
Mm.
And
Can I ask you? Can I just quickly ask you, besides yourself, how many of these runners who join this competition are using the Garmin program at the moment?
sorry, come again.
Okay, so for these 60 or so athletes that entered the virtual event, 37 men and 23 women, is there anyone else besides you who's using the Garmin program
Uh, I
from
th-
this
uh,
competition?
I think around 5 to 10%, maybe.
So them
I
use.
didn't know anybody who used the Garmin training plan, but uh, many many uh, many people are asking
Yep.
what type of program I am using, because at 41 I still
Yep. You still
beat
came out
my
around a personal
PB.
best.
Yeah.
This guy, like Stephen was mentioning before, Dem Monton, did he used the he used the Garmin, right?
Yes, it's also part of the
Project Rebel.
Project Rebel.
Yeah, because Dem came in with a 1650 and he ran a 1552, but the reason he got DQ'd was because he didn't have a video or something. I don't think it was due to
Yes, it's unfortunate.
he had his race was okay in terms of the elevation, but I think he got DQ'd because he just didn't have a video.
Yes.
But like that, looking at that, it's almost a minute. That these are some monster improvements in terms of times with the use of the Garmin program. I mean, it'll be interesting if from Stephen we can request like maybe 4 or 5 months down the track how everybody has improved on the Garmin program, because these are significant results. We're not dealing with a few
Yes.
seconds here and there. We're dealing with like minute PBs. just
Yes.
from a more structured, a more structured system which is in place. I mean, it's like sort of like a ready-made add to cart sort of program, which seems effective because it's actually applying a program based off a device which actually sends data back to the coach.
Yes, Stephen can say a lot about the Garmin training program because I think he's already on the fourth or fifth cycle. He started in
Well, even
Take
Stephen
10K
himself,
program.
coach, has like how much has Stephen improved his 5,000 meter PB since he started the Garmin program? Because I know that he recently brought his 5,000 meter time, from 17:38 to 17:26. But like, what was he running when he started on this Garmin program?
Didn't quite well know, but what I have seen or observed was his 10K. From the
How
start,
much has he improved? Okay.
he's around sub 38 already. When he started it, he's only aiming for a sub 40, and
Yeah.
he's already sub 30. So
You don't mean sub 30, right? Because that's like, that's like Philippine record kind of time. You mean like sub 33 or something, or sub 34, or?
no, I think
Okay,
it's
well,
his PB. Yeah.
yeah, we'll check that with Stephen. But I know he has
Yes,
improved significantly, like by several minutes in
yes.
that event. It might be 35 or 34, I think, but I'll just check with him maybe after this to see what his improvements were. All right, so these are the other prizes offered by Massive Sports in the forms of the prestigious free singlets, which Happy knows about as well. So the most improved male in the whole competition was none other than our registrar, Jerex Quintinho, who improved a whopping 1.30, is it 1.39? I think it's 1.39 minutes from 21:36 and jumping to the sub 20-minute club with a time of 19 minutes 57. On the women's side, our most improved female was the winner, Lani Cardona Adel, who went from 1927.9 to 1913 in the women's division. I believe Lani is about 30, so she's an athlete that's sort of been around quite a while. I remember seeing her compete at the 2009 National Open in Lingayen as a junior in the, I think it was in the 1,500 and 5,000 meter events at that time. And also we had a side competition running for the Pinoy Athletics fans, which was called Guess the Winning Time. Now, initially we were going to have one winner for this, whoever got closest in the men's and the women's, but that I basically figured out that was going to be too difficult because I would have spent forever trying to draw comparisons. So I decided to have a guess whoever got closest from the men and whoever got closest guess in the women, like would each get a singlet. But what happened is, like in the women, there were two people, Angelica Papner and Rizal Lejano, who both guessed the same time, and the winning time of Lanny was 1913. They both guessed 1910. So we had to basically dish out a singlet for both of them. And in the men, the leading kind of kept on changing. So the winner kept on changing in the men, and when the dust settled, it was actually Joshua Incon who had the closest time of 15:08, and Brazil ran 15:03. So he also got a free singlet. So had a free singlet to 5 people, and also for everybody else who entered the competition, they got a 15% discount. So delivery and singlet was 900 pesos, but they got discounted down to 600. So Matthew's inbox has been madly pinging away due to all the all the inquiries being made about buying these singlets. So it's been good that our business partner here, Massive Sports, has also, been able to grow their brand in conjunction with the Pinoy Athletics and Talking Chinoi brands. Okay, Jerex, do you have any words you would like to say about your improvement, or in regards to the improvement of the other athletes?
I'm very much happy with the result that we see, because one of the objective of this virtual meet is to keep the athletes ready for future event that may happen in the next few months. And I think we made a very good statement too. And even though with the challenges of having a virtual uh, running event, uh, we made it such a success.
I think that, in my view, even though the prizes are nice, I think that in this event, in the last virtual event I held, I think that above all, the athletes really just want to get out and have a race, have a competition, mingle with some other athletes, and just sort of have something to sort of motivate them during the sort of rather dark, depressing COVID times. Just to sort of keep that that rope, or that link with the sport, because a lot of, with the COVID, a lot of athletes, we might see a huge deluge of athletes walk out from the sport, which is understandable because of the fact that there's no competitions and there's nothing for them to do. But with the virtual meets, I think it's an avenue in which we can sort of, of course, we want to eliminate, if people leave the sport, they leave the sport. But in order to retain as many people as possible in the sport, I think the virtual events are a good avenue.
Yes. And the event also made the athletes, especially the student athletes, much connected, I think. Because of this, they can easily uh, talk about things that I think would make each of them improve much better as
The
a
feedback
person or an athlete.
the feedback I got from a lot of the athletes who joined this meet was, even though there were people at the beginning of the meet, there were people getting irate and sort of angry about timing, and
Yes,
people kind of bantering about their times that they got and that sort of thing. At the end of the meet, I think that the general outcome, or the general you know opinion, or you know um, view of the meet from the participants were that they were very happy that they were part of a meet which sort of ended up
yes,
running quite smoothly, and it basically gave them a little bit of hope during the COVID times to keep pursuing their running goals.
yes. We agree to that.
Okay, we should probably wrap this up soon. So this is just my last. I guess this is just the end part of this presentation. So I'm actually in the process of running another virtual meet, which is called Fantasia Meet, from the 24th to the 31st. Events already started. Results to be posted on Pinoy Athletics shortly. I've actually got a few results I'll be starting to post up. Actually, it was a bit of a challenge because I was trying to have the previous virtual meet done and dusted and tied up. I didn't realize that the two events would overlap to the extent of having to start on one while I'm still finalizing and doing the paperwork on the other one. But I believe now that everything's been concluded with the Pinoy Athletics Talking Chinoi virtual 5,000 meter event. So with this event, it's 60 meters, 301k. Videos to be submitted to Pinoy Athletics. The good thing about now is that a lot of track ovals are now open. Pagadian, Coronado, Binyan, Tacloban, Calapan, Malolos, Remy Field. I think Eba's opening up as well. So a lot of track ovals are now opening up. So with the videos, we need a clear view of the start and the finish. No hand times are accepted, obviously. The coaches are more than welcome to take hand times, but we'll be taking the times off the video. Deadline of videos is January the 31st. So in this photo above is two athletes who ran last week over a 60 and a 300 in Binyan. So this is the Binyan track oval. You can see it's well in use. There's a lot of people now, getting back into athletics and, running at the Binyan oval. So this is Jericho Erosito here winning the 60 meters from my young athlete who I've been working with the last 5 months. Jericho times 7:24. The other athlete behind him times 7:51, based off the video. And then Jericho came out and ran the 337.11. So there'll be more of these coming up. I actually have got some more videos that have been submitted, but I haven't actually had the time to go through some of them yet because we've been busy tying up the other events and various other things around the house that I've had to commit to. But tomorrow morning I'll be, grabbing a couple of coffees and, just going through, all the videos and some other stuff. Okay, so that last one I sort of just skimmed through because I haven't really confirmed it yet. So that pretty much brings it to the end of tonight. Any closing remarks from either of you?
I just want to say hello to my friends at Project Revo and Team Maribeles Bataan Runners.
Okay, and Happy?
So like the same as that what I mentioned earlier. I hope this serves as an inspiration for our local athletes to continue train even though it's under pandemic, because it still depends on you. Like if you really want to perform well, then you have to give the effort. Yeah, you really have to do the effort so that you can harvest from it. So yeah, that's all that I want to say.
Okay, so I won't read everybody's name for name, but like the 43 people that posted reactions on this tonight's presentation, and fortunately they were all very positive. There was a shocked reaction and quite a lot of likes and love reactions there. So there wasn't any angry red faces, which is always good to see. So yeah, I'd just like to thank everybody who tuned in tonight, and just a reminder to those looking forward to our next episode of Track Talk. That would be tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Philippine time, when we'll be interviewing Francie Braza and his 2 coaches from Iloilo. Okay, so that's it. I'd just like to thank our new moderators, Jerix and Happy, for joining me tonight on Track Talk to give their insights, and it was very much appreciated having 2 more opinions on our topics tonight. So from Pinoy Athletics, thank you everybody for tuning in, and good night.
Night.
Good night. Thanks for having us. Thanks again.
Take care.